From the heart of Yerevan to all corners of the world, this is CivilNet's daily news digest for Friday, September 27th. I'm Paul Chaderjian.
And I'm Maria Titizian. Here's our overview of the biggest stories our team has been following today.
Investigating the mayor. Did Taron Margaryan have a personal interest in the now suspended bus fare hikes?
Mixed reactions to Georgian President's message at the United Nations.
And innovative Armenians share their high-tech solutions to community problems with the world.
Plus, the Cafesjian Center for the Arts prepares to honor its benefactor. Transparency International Anti-Corruption Center in Yerevan filed an application on July 29 to the Ethics Commission for high-ranking officials of Parliament, requesting investigation into the business activities of Mayor of Yerevan Taron Margaryan. On September 26, the Parliamentary Commission launched an investigation into the charges. Transparency International initiated the application based on articles which appeared in different publications that had looked into the personal finances of Mayor Taron Margaryan and his close associates and had alleged that he stood to personally gain from the proposed bus fare hikes and that there was a serious conflict of interest. The Commission will give Taron Margaryan 10 days to answer the accusations and present explanations and arguments.
The International Crisis Group, ICG, has just issued its latest briefing titled Armenia and Azerbaijan, a Season of Risks. The report says that since peace talks broke down in 2011 over Nagorno-Karabakh, arms purchases and war rhetoric has gained momentum on both sides. It is important to note, however, that the Armenian government, all political forces and opinion makers have repeatedly said that only a peaceful solution to the NKR conflict is acceptable. The report goes on to say that as Azerbaijan prepares for presidential elections and as opposition forces in Armenia gear up for an autumn of protest, domestic turmoil might tempt leaders to deflect attention by raising military tensions. The ICG says that the role of the mediators will be critical at this juncture. Quote, "The immediate effort required of mediators and other supporters of a peace process is modest yet urgent," says Paul Quinn Judge, Crisis Group's Europe and Central Asia Program Director. He continues, both countries need to be brought back to the table before someone decides that the time has come to use their expensive new weapons.
A roundtable discussion on the situation of human rights in Azerbaijan was held on September 24 in the European Parliament, just 2 weeks prior to the October 9 presidential elections in Azerbaijan. Several members of the European Parliament criticized the non-protection of human rights and the absence of democratic values in the country. Members of the European Parliament highlighted the fact that politicians, journalists, activists are frequently guests of the prison facilities of Azerbaijan and that the authorities violate basic human rights such as the freedom of expression and the freedom of assembly. Quote, "We want to see free and fair elections. Azerbaijan is the country which has the highest number of political prisoners among all the neighborhood countries, even more than Belarus," said Ana Gomes of Portugal. And in international news, U.S. Senate Assistant Majority Leader Richard Durbin introduced legislation in the upper house aimed at stopping the rapid deforestation of Armenia and Haiti and restoring their native forests to their pre-1990 levels within 20 years. The bill also authorizes debt for nature swaps for both nations. Under this mechanism, a non-governmental conservation group would work with the Haitian and Armenian governments and international creditors to trade debt for commitments and plans to reforest and protect key tracts of land. ANCA Executive Director Aram Hamparian said, quote, "We are pleased to support Senator Durbin's introduction today of the Haiti-Armenia Reforestation Act and welcome his leadership in seeking the timely adoption of this legislation aimed at promoting sustainable growth and authorizing debt for nature swaps for Armenia and Haiti."
Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili's speech on September 25th at the 68th session of the UN General Assembly has received mixed reactions in Armenia. Saakashvili said that Russia is not interested in seeing a settlement of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict and it is placing pressure on its former republics from establishing closer ties to Europe. He also stressed that a strong Ukraine, Moldova, Armenia or Azerbaijan is not in Russia's interest. He said, quote, "Do you think that Vladimir Putin wants Armenia to decisively triumph over Azerbaijan, for instance? No. This would make Armenia too strong and potentially too independent, end of quote. He went on to say, quote, "Do you think then that the contrary is true, that Moscow wants Baku to prevail over Yerevan? Obviously not. The current rise of a modernized Azerbaijan is a nightmare for the Russian leaders. No, they do not want anyone to prevail, and the conflict itself is their objective, since it keeps both nations dependent and blocks their integration into the European common space." End of quote. Armenia's Foreign Minister Edvard Nalbandian is scheduled to speak to the General Assembly today, September 28th.
The lights at the Cascade in central Yerevan will be turned off Friday night at 8:30 p.m. Yerevan time to hold a special candlelight vigil for philanthropist and benefactor Gerard Cafesjian, who passed away last week. The Cafesjian Museum Foundation is organizing the event to honor the memory of the late businessman who donated and invested over $200 million to Armenia.
We've received late word that one of the giants of Armenian cinema, Sos Sarkisyan, passed away last night at the age of 83. He was born in Stepanovan in 1929 and later moved to Yerevan to study theater. He had an illustrious career as a stage and film actor. In 1991, he created the Hamaskayan Theater, and in that same year, he ran for president in the newly independent Republic of Armenia. He appeared in over 40 films, including We Are Our Mountains, Nahabed, Khatabala, and Tsori Miro, taking on some of the most beloved characters in Armenian cinema. The Social Good Summit Tuesday night in Yerevan brought together more than a dozen innovators who've put information technologies and new media to use in order to solve problems and to do good. The Yerevan conference was linked to dozens of others around the globe, where innovative solutions to problems are shared with other communities so that the best practices used in Yerevan can be replicated from Bangladesh to Boston. This second annual conference was organized and hosted by Counterpart International Armenia and USAID. It was moderated by CivilNet Director Salpi Ghazarian.
Really, at the end of the day, it's amazing that 10, 12 years, some will say better, I don't know how many years after we can say that IT is a part of our lives, the whole world is stopping to ask, okay, it's a part of our habits, customs, lives, but how do we make it do good?
You can watch our full report and the entire summit on CivilNet.
That's our digest for today, Friday.
We want to hear from you. Our email once again, english@civilnet.am.
And we'll be back Monday morning.